Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Pathfinder Through the Ashes. As today we finally set our sights on making it through all those pesky ashes. That said, I am still playing this blind, so other than knowing that we're officially in the final stretch, I'm not actually sure just how much we have left ahead of us. Especially since we just hit level 5, which does seem to imply we've still got at least one more big encounter ahead of us. With that in mind, we'll run through this level up real quick and then see what the game throws at us. With any luck, we'll wrap the episode by safely reaching the Defender's heart, but as always, I am deeply skeptical of that actually happening. It just doesn't really match up with how things played out in the main campaign. Anyway, first up, we've got our gravel-voiced Grim, who picks up his 5th level in Student of Stone. That nets him a flat +1 on base attack, but nothing for his saves, as well as Purity of Body, which grants him complete immunity to all diseases. Not too shabby. He also picks up his first Style Strike, which is essentially an extra bonus effect that gets tacked onto his normal flurry of blows. That's a pretty huge get, but we'll come back to it in just a moment. Skills are skills, nothing really notable there. As of level 5, he's now tied with Sendry as the group's lead on Persuasion. For our feat, this is essentially our Precise Strike level, because every single one of our frontliners is going to be investing in Precise Strike. It's an easy way to boost our damage output across the board, as long as we make sure we've got at least 2 frontliners on any single target during combat. As an aside, we could have actually started investing in Outflank instead, which was my initial plan. But it turns out that only Grim and Sir Brown actually qualify for it at level 5. Kanos and Gaia wouldn't be able to pick it up until level 7. I ultimately figured it was just simpler to grab something that everyone could use right off the bat. But we will still be picking up Outflank, just later down the line. Now, circling back to Style Strike. We've got 4 fun options here, but I ultimately decided to go for Leg Sweep. That basically adds a free trip attack to our full attack scheme, and if you watch the main series, then you know that I love tossing enemies around during combat. This is also just the start of some pretty goofy stacking I've been planning for Grim, though sadly we won't really get to play with it until the next DLC. We will be picking up Improved Trip at level 6 with our Monk bonus slot, followed by Pummeling Bully at 7 and Pummeling Charge at 9. In theory, that should all add up to mean that we'll eventually be getting multiple trip attacks with every flurry, including when we first charge into combat with a full attack scheme. And that's it for Grim. Pretty decent level up, but as aforementioned, the real fun stuff is yet to come. Next up, we've got Sir Brown, our Divine Duelist, who's grabbing his 5th level in War Priest. That actually nets him no additional bonuses to base scores or saves, a common trend with pretty much the entire rest of the party. But it does finally bump up his base damage. He now does 1d8 base damage per swing with his rapier, up from 1d6. Skills are skills, nothing notable here. He of course remains our lead on Lore Religion. His feat goes into Precise Strike, for reasons previously outlined. Though, I mean, feel free to weigh in if you think we should grab Outflank instead. Just with the understanding that only Grim and Brown would have it right now. Kanos and Gaia would have to wait until level 7. And that's it for Sir Brown. He gets a couple of new spell slots, but those are just going towards an extra Bless and an extra Communal Protect. Next, we've got Kanos, our wily Wolfmaster. He picks up his 5th level in Drovier, which once again nets him no base combat bonuses, but does give him access to 3rd level spells, which is pretty huge. Skills are skills, he remains our lead in Nature Lore, and of course his feat slot goes towards Precise Strike. Though I will admit that Razor Tusk was tempting. That is something we will probably revisit later down the line. And that's pretty much it for Kanos, aside from setting his new spell slots. He does now have access to 3rd level spells, which is pretty huge, and we will be sinking his first 2 3rd level slots into Communal Delay Poison and Greater Magic Fang, Both very solid investments. Jumping over to Gaia, her level up is just about as basic as it gets. 5th level in Bully basically nets her a new feat, which we're immediately sinking into Precise Strike. She also bumps up her stealth and perception a little, but that's pretty much it. Moving on to Record, our range-based rogue. Again, no base combat bonuses, but he does at least get his 3rd sneak attack die. Skills are skills. He's still our lead in all the thief stuff, as well as our pretty mediocre lead on world knowledge. He can't really benefit from Precise Strike like our frontliners can, so his feat slot will go towards Rapid Shot instead. Granted, that -2 penalty to hit does give me some pause, but I figure it's worth it for the extra attack every round. Not to mention, of course, that we can always temporarily disable Rapid Shot if we really need to. Next, we've got Aiden, our genial geokineticist. He gets his 5th level in Overwhelming Soul, which nets him a new infusion, and yet another damage die for his kinetic blasts. He also picks up his first Metakinesis trick, Empowered, which I'm not sure he can actually use, given that Overwhelming Souls essentially forfeited their ability to willingly accept burn. Skills are skills, nothing really notable there. Aiden remains our lead in Arcana. And our feat slot goes towards Fury's Fall, which might seem like an odd choice for a range attacker, but that's because we're also picking up Bowling Infusion. That's an infusion I've mentioned a couple of times in the past, I think as recently as last episode. It essentially allows Aiden to tack a free trip effect onto his range attacks, which will be made even more potent by feats like Improved Trip, which we just picked up at 4, and Fury's Fall. Of course, Bowling Infusion is also pretty pricey at 2 burn, but that's actually immediately offset by a slightly hidden class feature we just picked up, Infusion Specialist, which for some reason doesn't appear on the normal Kineticist class chart. That ability basically reduces the amount of burn required when applying infusions to Aiden's kinetic blasts, so he can now essentially use Pushing Infusion for free, or Bowling Infusion, as long as we have a move action available to gather extra power. In theory, we could even do both at once, but only right at the beginning of combat, when we have time to do a full round gather power action. Which finally brings us to our slickest of sorcerers, Sentry. He gets his 5th level in Sorcerer, again netting him no basic combat bonuses. But he does at least net an extra Sorcerer feat, in addition to his normal feat slot. He also picks up Invisibility as a bonus spell, but I'll admit I don't tend to use that a whole lot. Skills are skills, he remains our party lead on UMD, and is now tied for lead on Persuasion. He'll take the lead at level 6. For his new feats, we're basically just continuing to stack on that whole summoning shtick, with Superior Summoning. We haven't really gotten much use out of it just yet, but we've already come this far, so we might as well stay the course. As for his bonus slot, that one will go towards something a little more universal, Spell Penetration. Granted, he hasn't really had issues with spell resistance thus far, but I imagine it will come in handy later down the line. Best to invest in it now. For his new spells, we've finally got another 1st level slot, so we are immediately grabbing Mage Armor. That's really a no-brainer. Our 2nd level slot is a little trickier, though, since we have a ton of great options. And after giving it some thought, I finally ended up leaning towards Glitter Dust. It's a decent mix of utility and crowd control, and it also really just felt like a Sentry sort of spell. I can pretty easily imagine him being the kind of guy who would gleefully weaponize glitter. And that's pretty much it. Our party is now officially level 5. As always, let me know what you guys think in the comments down below, but for now we'll just roll with it. This should hopefully be sufficient to see us through to the end of the current expansion. But I guess we'll know for sure shortly. One moment whilst I straighten up our hotbars and we'll get back to it. We'll be right back. And we're back. Alright, let's see what horrors Canabras has in store for us during this final leg of our journey. Though I think we've got a pretty good idea of what it's going to be. They haven't exactly been subtle about it. Almost there. See that roof way over there? That's the tavern. Goody. So what are we waiting for? Off we go. Chop chop. Oh gods, no! We're done for! Oh my, that is not just our luck. That thing is right between us and the tavern. Yeah, that does appear to be the case. I've got to say, that is not at all what I was expecting. Kalavicus? Kalavakis? Yeah, I really thought it was going to be those weird ice demons that have been chasing us since the graveyard. Or a Nabasu, because Nabasu are all over the key art, and we have yet to really encounter one. I don't think Kalavikai showed up in the main campaign until Act 2. I'm not sure that's actually something we can defeat at level 5. Maybe? I guess we'll have to look at its stats. Well, let's see if they're giving us any potential advantages here. They're obviously giving us a pretty circuitous approach route, so I imagine we've got a few potential ways to lean the odds in our favor. It looks like these guards held off the enemy's onslaught till their last breath, covering the retreat, and died heroes. This does seem weird. Like Nabasu I could see, because A, it's on the key art, and B, they did have a Nabasu as an optional boss at the end of Act 1 of the main campaign. Kalavakis just comes out of nowhere. Okay, yeah, now they're channeling us right back into it. It's right over there. Oh. Visor and Rainbow Quartz. We could have an eye make another potion of restoration for us. Though that takes an hour. And we've already got buffs running, so that would actually waste our buffs. Yeah, that's not worth it. What about this? Can we get down here? We still have rope. But no spots where we can actually use it. It's huge! Sendry is peeking through a crack in the wall, staring at the demon. And extra bloodthirsty to boot! What's this moody fella doing here? What kind of creature is it even, all covered in spikes? Must have the hardest time sitting down. Shut your trap. If it hears your yapping, it'll use you as a cushion. Reckert looks around with haunted eyes. Fighting it's not an option. It could spit at us and kill us dead. So how do we... We need to distract it. We sacrifice someone so that the rest can run to the tavern while the beast is busy with them. That's horrific! Can't we do this without any sacrifices? Yes, lives are cheap these days. One more, one less. Who cares? Brody looks at the monster with fear and whispers a prayer. The plan is solid. I volunteer. Rita, no. What madness is this? We are not sacrificing anybody. What are we, cultists? Better look over there. He points at the ruins behind you. The rickety building looks like it could crumble at any moment. We can make it across the roof all the way to the tavern, and no one will have to die. Sure, we're not sacrificing anybody. We'll just jump on a pile of rubble and break our necks. We'll die with a clear conscience, though. Great plan. Yeah, no offense, Record, but I feel like if we have options that don't involve feeding our friends to demons, they might be worth exploring. Plus, that does seem to explain why there's clearly an open area behind us that we can't otherwise seem to reach. I think Sentry has the right idea. If there's even a chance we can get everyone through this alive, we have to try. It's a great plan. You can bet it is. I'm the one who came up with it. I now feel slightly less certain about this plan. We climb up there. We all die the moment that wreck falls apart beneath our feet. You want to save everyone? That's not how these things work. I understand your concerns, Record. But counterpoint, and stick with me here. What if it is the way it works? If it doesn't work, we'll try it your way. Or we'll die. But that's a risk I'm willing to take. Well, Desna, don't let us down now. Forward! The defender's heart was so close. But the last and most daunting obstacle on the way there was a colossal monster, stalking the streets in search of prey. To avoid it, the escapees were forced to take a roundabout route, across the roofs of the nearby houses. From behind them, from the streets of Canabris, came cries of bloodlust. A crowd of cultists was on the rampage, butchering anyone they met without mercy, and their shouting was drawing closer. The escapees couldn't afford to delay. They had to climb up and pray that the gods would not let any of them fall to the ground below. Having scampered up the crumbling ruins onto the roof of a nearby house, the group froze, hesitating. There was a stretch of empty air just ahead of them, a narrow lane when seen from below, but a yawning chasm from up here. They had to jump. The escapees. And that's what the rope is for. Okay, we just had to wait for the special event. The rope did not fail them. After throwing a loop around the most sturdy-looking of the protruding beams, the escapees easily made it to the next roof. But the danger had not yet passed. At the clanging of the roofing under the escapees' feet, the demon raised its ugly head to the sky and howled in rage. Its nostrils flared as it picked up the scent of its escaping prey. Grunting, it charged towards the wall of the house on top of which the escapees were hiding. They had no choice but to hold on to the roof for dear life. And we have to make a check anyway. Fantastic. The crushing blow shook the walls of the house. The vibration made the escapees' bones ache, stones rattling free from the stonework. The force of the impact was such that the escapees, who had been clinging to the beams, were sent tumbling across the floor with sharp bits of roofing falling down upon them. One of these shards whizzed right past Sentry's nose, and two more struck Record square in the chest and left bleeding wounds. Grim was able to put his hands up in time, and a barrage of shards which could have turned his face into pulp, instead left painful cuts on his arms and shoulders. Glancing down cautiously at the horrid beast, stunned by the impact, the escapees hurried deeper into the attic to get out of sight. But now a new danger awaited them there. As they were making their way through the building, the escapees sensed a familiar smell. Smoke! One wing of the building was already in flames. The defender's heart was just out of their reach. The way forward blocked by fire. Oh, come on. Not wasting any time, the escapees ran through the attic. They tried to avoid the licking flames, but the fire caught their shoulders, hands, and clothes, leaving painful burns. Record, bringing up the rear, was a step away from escaping the fire's embrace when the floor beneath him crumbled. In desperation, he latched onto the boards and immediately hissed in pain, his hand impaled on a frighteningly large nail, poking out of the floor. Hanging over the boiling sea of flames, Record could feel his fingers weakening. Suddenly, someone's hand grabbed him by the wrist, and Grim heaved Record from the jaws of fiery death. After getting a good look at the hole in his palm, Record glared at Sentry and asked grimly, "So, whose brilliant idea was it again to go up on the roofs?" But despite Record's solid remark, the escapees had indeed reached the defender's heart, leaving the dangerous monster behind. Climbing down from the roof, they saw warriors rushing out of the tavern, gesturing for them to hurry inside. Was it really true? Had they finally made it? No way. Really? "Open up! We're friends! Move it, Mephits roast you, before we become that thing's dinner! It's getting closer!" Irabeth! Oh wow, that's Rathamus, Viscely Rathamus, jeez. It has been a while. Oh good, all our friends died. Scratch that, we're alive. Get in, quickly. We can't keep the gate open for long. Yes, of course. We will get right on that. Right after we canvass the area. Because we have unattended loot lying around. We'll be right back. Potion of healing, sure. And there's that axe. Oh, plus a free arm. With bracers of armor +2. That is fantastic. Now that we have mage armor, though, it's a bit less important. But we'll go ahead and slap those on Sentry. And then we can pass the +1 bracers over to Gaia. Actually, no. You know what? Let's reverse that. The +2s will go to Gaia. The +1 will stay on Sentry. Because let's be honest here. Sentry's AC is so low that if he's being attacked, he's pretty much screwed anyway.
I managed.
The walls of the tavern may look strong, but you've seen what demons and their minions are capable of. The Crusaders' lives are hanging by a thread. Are you done now? We can't keep the gate open much longer. Yeah, I'm on it. Jeez. Pretty sure we got everything. On behalf of the city authorities and myself, I hereby offer our gratitude for the rescue. I'm alive! Imagine that, alive! Praise to all the good gods! And, of course, to you, my rescuers. So, this is the place. Typical. Where else would paladins hold the line, but in a tavern? Huzzah. But no achievement pop-up, so I guess we did need Bamir. That's a shame. Welcome. The intimidating armor-clad half-orc who met you at the tavern gate greets you with a nod. It's good to see you alive, Record. You too. So, Irabeth, here's what we're looking at. The demon scum are planning to attack the Defender's Heart. They're gathering their forces in the Tower of Estrid, and they could strike at any minute. I was prowling around listening to their plans when they caught me and dragged me off to their makeshift prison. Here are all the particulars. Record hands her a piece of paper folded into quarters. After a moment's hesitation, he adds, And, my condolences about Anevia. Stay strong, sister. There'll be time for tears later, when we win this war. Don't reach for your handkerchief just yet. A smile blooms on the paladin's grim face. Anevia is here, alive and well. Go and tell her of your exploits. Perhaps she'll even remind you that the expected way to report to me is, Commander, I have an urgent report. Not, so, Irabeth, here's what we're looking at. Although I wouldn't bet on it. Seriously? She's alive? Record heaves a sigh of relief. Praise the savored sting. Now I feel like an ass for thinking it was even possible she was dead. I've seen her in action. More lives than a cat, that one. We brought some survivors. Other townsfolk we encountered while we were traveling here. I hope that was all right. Yes, of course. Thank you for finding a way to look out for others as well as yourselves. The saving of a life is an act that gladdens Iomade. Since the attack, Canabras has been left almost leaderless. People like Freda Linsdotten are worth their weight in gold. It will be they who will rebuild the city once we have driven the enemy out. I think we will find a way to restore her sight. I remember Maestro Langrat Massini. Anevia and I attended one of his performances. He is a remarkable musical talent. Thank you for keeping him safe. Brody told me the trouble you went to save him. That poor wretch had one foot in the grave. Abandoning him would have been the easiest thing to do, but you risked your life to cure him. That wasn't merely the act of a warrior, but of a righteous man. I am proud that the true spirit of the Crusades lives on among us. The spirit of compassion, not of war. Furtively turning away from Irabeth, Record's lips curve into a grin. Healer Anai is an interesting person. She had barely stepped through the tavern door before tending to 2 wounded soldiers, and roundly scolding 5 healthy ones. I can already tell she's going to make things difficult, but much less difficult than they would be without her. Thank you. Now is not the time to be handing out medals, but I promise, once we secure victory, your contribution won't be forgotten. Can't fill my belly with thanks. How about you spare us some gold instead? Shush, you. We saved the people. What else do you want? Are we crusaders or some kind of mercenaries? Yeah, I guess we're closer to crusaders. That just feels weird after playing Vex for so long. So, what's the situation in the city? It's bad, but not hopeless. New fighters are joining us all the time, and those we thought lost are returning for duty. We will continue to fight. The Crusades are not over. We have already stormed the Great Garrison, where the command of the occupying forces is based. Unfortunately, we had to retreat, but we will return, and we'll send them straight back to the Abyss. For security reasons, I cannot disclose all the details, but I can tell you one thing. A strike force of brave souls has joined our efforts, led by a truly remarkable individual. If their mission is successful, the enemy will not withstand our counterattack. Is there anything else we can do to help? Your report has helped invaluably. You've had a tough time of it. Your legs are barely holding you up. take refuge in the cellar and get some rest. You've earned it. Are you sure? This looks like an all-hands-on-deck situation to me. Anevia teaches her people well, I see. You have stopped trying to slap me on the shoulders while I'm giving you orders, at least. Irabeth flashes a grin before her face turns grave once more. Yes, Record. I'm sure of my orders. Now, if you would be so kind, do as you're told. Man, I miss this Irabeth, the one who is still optimistic despite the seemingly hopeless situations we faced. And despite the horrors of the war that had been visited upon her. That encounter with Nulkaneth really messed her up. I do hope she recovers. And you're sure we have time to rest before the impending battle? I think so. You can take a look around the tavern, talk to the other survivors, have a beer, maybe get some new gear. But whatever you do, do not go past the gate. The monsters could attack at any moment. Beer, conversation, even a little shopping. How I have missed the small pleasures of civilization these last days. Record looks like he wants to protest, but he just hunches his shoulders and looks aside. It seems that he, unlike Sendry, is not overly happy to be back among people. Very well, I'll do my best to unwind and get some rest. Thank you. All right. When you go down into the basement, we will barricade you in from up here. You rest easy while we drive off the demons and their minions. Oh, okay. Is that our excuse for why Grimm and company weren't present during the siege on the Defender's Heart? That's pretty flimsy, but sure, okay. We're still not done, though, and we know that this DLC ends on a cliffhanger because there's a sequel coming out. So I guess we'll poke around, talk to everyone, and maybe do some shopping? We'll just, we'll play it by ear, I guess. These knights are true heroes. They won't surrender the city to the enemy. Oh, let's see if we missed something from Brody earlier. I don't remember him saying anything. Yeah, there we go. What, we're really safe? Well, I'll be. I almost forgot what it feels like. I'm in your debt. Aw, well that's sweet. Still kind of a bummer we missed bringing Bamir here, but on the other hand, as aforementioned, sometimes you just gotta play your character. Dude was a murderer. Can't really be helped. You arrived with the group of escapees, didn't you? Praise Abadar that you managed to escape those criminals and make it here. The portly old man smiles warmly at you, Abadar's sacred symbol gleaming on his chest. I am Viscely Rathamus. If you need the help of a cleric, I am at your service. Thank you for protecting Freda Linsdotten. Once we've won this city back from the monsters, only people like her will be able to help us rebuild it. Happy to help. You said your name was Rathamus? Viscely Rathamus, sworn servant of Abadar. I was the prior of the Temple of Abadar in Canabris while it stood. Now I am prior of only a bag of scrolls. But that's all right. Our Lord helps those who rebuild cities from the ashes. You're selling scrolls, not just using them to help people? Alas, I cannot. The giving of alms is a sin before Abadar. If the people become inured to receiving things for free, they will cease to work hard. That will spell the end of everything. Skilled trades, commerce, cities, civilization itself. Do not ask me to give anything away for free, for I cannot. You Abadarians are a miserable lot. All of civilization will collapse as the result of one good turn indeed. What about being a good neighbor? Does your god of cities not teach you that? Do not confuse two different things. He sagely raises a finger. Being a good neighbor is one thing. Cultivating parasites is another. Fair enough. Let's see what you've got. That's what I'm here for. Take a look at what I've got. And if you need me to read a scroll for you, I'll do it free of charge. You sure? Wouldn't want me getting spoiled now, would you? Oh, look at that. He's got the stuff that he had when Vex was here. Though, sadly, it is well beyond our price range. Yeah, I don't see us being able to afford any of this stuff. I mean, maybe if we had saved a bunch of the vendor trash from earlier areas. But then we would have had to go without buying anything else, I think. I believe that help is already on the way. The Queen will not leave us to die. Right you are, Kyato. Everything will be just fine for some of us. Songs were sung from this stage until very recently. Now it is empty. But who knows? Perhaps music will return to this place once more. I wonder if Langret, or someone who visually resembled him, was performing during the celebration at the end of Act 1. That would be a fun detail. Our feat is worthy of a ballad. Perhaps I'll be the one to write it. When my hand stops shaking and my heart calms down. Minago, that cursed fiend. Why has she come back? To the abyss with all of it. Chin up, Staunton. I'm sure she'll get her comeuppance eventually. Probably. Someday. Crusader's Letter. My son, you are already 10 years old as I write these words. I don't know when you will read them, or if you will ever get the chance. I am writing to you from a city besieged by a demonic horde. In the last Crusader stronghold, minutes before the battle that may very well be our last. I have put off writing this account year after year, but now that I can feel death breathing down my neck, I thought it was finally time to pick up a quill. I don't doubt that in our noble family my name is either mired in disgrace or consigned to obscurity. I am called a coward and a traitor, one who forsook his homeland and his family. It doesn't matter to me. As I see it, I owe nothing to the great house Garess. They gave me life, yes, but they took my childhood and my youth. Denying me love and friendship, joy and happiness, I owe them nothing. But to you, my son, I owe the truth. I never loved your mother, nor she me. Marriages amongst the nobility are not brokered for love. When a Brevic aristocrat says the word love, he means obedience. It was in the name of love that your great-grandfather bid me love that woman. And I obeyed, to my sorrow and hers. I comforted myself with the hope that our union would prove fruitless, for I knew I would be unable to give you anything but that same northern love. That cold cruelty that speaks its name in screams and floggings. I resolved to flee when I understood everything with clarity. Brevoy was doomed to civil war. For too long had its two halves, Rostland and Issia, suffered under the yoke of this forced marriage, as your own parents had. I counted among my friends many heroes of Restov who bore the illustrious name Aldori. I knew I would be forced to raise my sword against them when the great houses decided to destroy the very thought of an independent Rostland. It was a burden I knew I could not bear. I turned my back on my homeland and my family and fled to Mendev to join the Crusaders. Whatever horrors await me in a war against evil incarnate, it could not be more terrifying than the fratricidal slaughter that was coming for Brevoy. In Mendev, I could be sure who my friends were and who was the enemy. Here I need not wonder if I am fighting for a just cause. Here is where I learned what love is. Real love. Goodbye, my son. Know that I regret nothing. I found my truth. I hope you will find yours. Krolesi Gares, foot soldier of the Crusader army of Her Majesty, Queen Galfrey of Mendev. Interesting. That's a fun nod back to Kingmaker. Keston Gares, our old warden, was a member of the same clan. Storyteller! So many stories have become intertwined within this city. I can feel somewhere nearby another one of them is approaching its turning point. Storyteller. Always so eager to break the fourth wall. Yeah, I'm just waiting for the twist. You know it's coming. Emile? New arrivals? Make yourselves at home. The pallid Dampier gives you an uninterested once-over with his blood-filled eyes. What'll it be? Oh, we're just outright confirming he's a Dampier now. Okay, cool. Oh, look at the eyes on him! Like chips of ice. Barkeep, if you would be so kind, stare a little longer at my tankard. I like my beer extra cold. With an irritated snort, the Dampier turns away from Sendry. Sounds about right. So how are things here at the tavern? The tavern keeper shrugs. All the others in the city have closed, so things aren't going too bad, considering. War is bad for some, but it means big business for others, eh, Gimel? You. The Dampier points a pale finger accusingly at Record. Swipe 2 bottles of wine and a whole ham. I should throw you out. Come on, that was 20 years back. I paid you back a long time ago. Are you going to keep bringing it up for the rest of my life? Yes. Fair enough. So what do you think? You think this place will survive the impending attack? The tavern? Nah. But that lot. He nods at the knights gathered around. They'll do it. This is their last chance. Yeah, I hear that. Let's see what you got. The tavern keeper wordlessly gestures at the rows of bottles behind him. Demon Slayer soup. That's a late-game recipe. Oh yeah, look at that. He's got some late-game ingredients, too. Weird. And then a bunch of potions and such. Nothing we really need. Brody! Ow, my legs hurt real bad. They've been through so much. They've been scared stiff. I think I'll have a lie down. As well you should, buddy. You have definitely earned it. Hey, Jernog, what's up? May Erastil watch over you, valiant Crusaders. May he watch over us all. And Forn, is he alert? Oh, yep. There he is. The demon's minions are celebrating victory, but they won't escape vengeance. Yeah, I'm sure. Good to hear you've got your priorities straight, Forn. Good luck with that. Oh, I walked right past Tenevia. Also an eye. We'll chat them up real quick, then we'll pop out and talk to Joran, and I think we're good. There you are. An unassuming woman in dusty clothes scrutinizes you, her eyebrows raised. Anevia's the name. Record told me about your little stroll across the city. Not bad. Not bad at all. Ever thought of joining an order? There are plenty of spots free in the Eagle Watch right now. Just saying. Oh, really? That is wonderful. No one's asked me to become a knight before. I wonder why. I thought orders would be lining up to get a talent like you in their ranks. That's exactly what I thought. But hey-ho, it doesn't matter. He gives you a playful wink. At least now they have finally seen our true worth. So you're the one who trained Record, eh? You did a fine job. Right, my school taught him everything he knows. Anevia grins with satisfaction, nodding. My school, and the streets of Canabras. This city teaches you things they ain't never heard about in no university. I don't know what they get up to in these universities, Sendry says with a dismissive wave of his hand. I've never even gotten as far as the doorstep at any of them. They all gabbled nonsense about high standards of scholarship and about the rules for setting out manuscripts, how wide the margins ought to be, what color of ink to use. I would think that a true academic should be able to work out such things for themselves. Well, if that's true, then this journey alone should be worth at least one dissertation. Record smirks at Sendry as he usually does, but there's no malice in it this time. He's still basking in the afterglow of Anevia's praise. So, I heard you died during the recent attack? Glad to see you got better. Don't worry about it. It's not the first time people thought I was a goner. Anevia laughs. Desna willing, it won't be the last. After our visitors from the wound came calling, I had to go on a little stroll just like you lot. But I'm not as easy to bury as some people would like to think. Good to hear. So, is there anything I can do to help prepare for the attack? You and Record already did your bit when you delivered that information. It'll do nobody any good if you go roaring into battle, staggering from exhaustion, and heroically fall on the cultists' blades. I appreciate the offer, I really do. But it's best if you rest now. We'll manage. Don't you worry about us. Very well. But I would still like to help when I can. If that means joining the Eagle Watch, then so be it. Now we're talking. But you rest up for now. After that trek, you've earned it. Don't worry about the heart. We ain't gonna let nobody in. Tomorrow, I'll tell you what we've got going on here. When I can think straight. I don't know what you think being part of an order is like. But prepare to be disappointed. Always am. But, alright, I'll go get some rest. Uh-huh. Go on and put your feet up. This place is getting burned to the ground, and all of us along with it. Mark my words, we're all going to burn. Right, sure. And I'm always a pleasure. Keep up the good work. Alright, let's give this place a good once-over. Snag any loot that Vex left behind. We've also got Joran out here, I believe. And he might actually have something worth buying. We could use some new magic weapons or armor. If he has things that are reasonably priced. Nice, nice. Welcome to the Forge of Joran Vane. The graying dwarf with calloused hands offers an affable smile. It's nice to see more new faces around here every day. Looks like this city of ours isn't dead yet. Joran, you old geezer. Good to see you're still alive and kicking. No demon attack's going to bring down the Vane brothers, eh? Not after all the things you've come up against over the years. We're alive. True enough. Joran smiles sadly. Trust me, I'd gladly give up my life to save a few less hardened folks. But death doesn't take requests. My brother and I are still here. If you want to call that good luck or bad, so be it. My name's Grim Caldera. It's a pleasure to meet you. Tell me about yourself. Well, there's not much to tell. I've been a smith for years. I used to work in Dresden before, but then trouble came, the city fell, and I had to pick up and move to Canabras. And now the demons have decided to come here. God's willing, we'll drive them off this time. It's a good town, Canabras. It'd be a shame to hand it over to beasts from the abyss. So you personally witnessed the fall of Dresden? I did, and I wish I hadn't. But I'm not going to talk about that, so don't ask. It was terrifying and ugly to witness. That's all I can tell you. I'm sure you acted most heroically. Instead of an answer, Joran's mouth twists into a pained grimace. Sentry, helpful as always, thanks. Sorry, let's see what you've got. Take a look. My wares are made to last. I can vouch for every ring and every piece of chainmail. And look at that. He has all of the items that he had when Vex was here. Which is nice, but at the same time is also well beyond our price range. Though he does also have an assortment of masterwork and cold iron weapons, so we might still be able to make some upgrades. Also, some of these look new, but it's hard to imagine those were just introduced for the sake of the expansion, because, again, those would be well beyond the projected treasure yield we'd have at this point. I think that +1 shield's our best bet. That'd be a nice upgrade for Kanos. Let's check up top real quick. I didn't see anything in passing, but you never know. Oh, hey. Oh my goodness, are you kidding me? And that is why we canvass these areas. My goodness, that just saved us 1,200 gold. That is fantastic. You know what? I'm going to go double check the rest of the map just to make absolutely sure I didn't miss anything, but I can do that off screen. I'll also do some quick shopping, dump our inventory, pick up a couple of other upgrades, whatever we can afford. We'll either pick up momentarily, or I will see you next time. See you then. Hey, RetconRaider here, and welcome back to Pathfinder Through the Ashes. Either a few seconds or a few days later. I'm not actually sure which as of the moment I'm recording this, but you should probably know by now. I've taken care of our off-screen bookkeeping, cleaned up our inventory a bit, and even made a couple of very modest upgrades. Oh, and I did finally remember to go ahead and slot that +1 composite as well. So that's another nice little upgrade. That said, let's head downstairs. See what they've got in store for us. It seems someone was being held behind these bars very recently. A prisoner. That's fine. We've already reached our tiefling quota for this party. Pretty sure Waljif would have had a much harder time getting on with someone like Grimm anyway. How are they faring without us, I wonder? Perhaps we should go up and lend a hand? Irabeth said to sit tight down here, so we're going to stay here and not get in anybody's way. Hey, what are you doing? Well, maybe then... Ow! My eye! Something is coming! You're here for me, aren't you? Well then, take me, but leave the others alone! Come on, put down your little toy. Magic bones.
There he is on yonder hill! I bet he's pulling some awful faces at us from under that ridiculous mask, yup! Let's wallop him so he sends us back and troubles us no more!
Hold on. Aren't you going to explain any of this? Where are we? Who is that fool in the mask, and what does he want from us?
I don't know! I swear I don't!
Are you sure, Sentry? You just said he was after you. Do you know something or not?
I can make a pretty good guess, more like. You see, how do I explain it? I swear on my fluffy socks that I don't know what I've got myself tangled up in. That fellow's been on my tail for days and days, even before I got to Canabras. I could sense his presence deep in my gut, and that's all I know. I bet he's got something nasty in mind. Hey, you! Why don't you come down here and tell us who you are and what you want from us?
The gnome shakes his fist at the menacing figure on the hill. The cultist on the hill raises his arm, and Sentry freezes. The bandage falls from his face, revealing that the eye beneath is glowing an icy light, much like the light of the cold, deadened sky above your heads. Sentry convulses, clutching his throat, and is seized by violent coughing. When the coughing subsides, Sentry's lips begin to move. But the words that emerge are not his own.
At last you're mine. You will pay for making me chase after you for so long. You tried to deny me what was mine by right. And the rod, my rod, you will pay for that.
Sentry's terrified eyes dart between you and the cultist speaking through him. Release Sentry, right now.
I have hunted him for a long time. He is mine by right. He has my treasure. And you do not dare to give me orders. You will all suffer the same fate. You will be but frozen bones beneath my feet.
Someone's cocky. Aren't you afraid you'll slip?
Who are you? Name yourself.
My face is hidden. My name shrouded in secret. I am a servant of the Great One, and a vessel for his might. I am nothing, but I am destined for greatness.
The usual cultist gabble. Sounds mysterious, but it's just empty words.
What treasure are you talking about? What do you think Sentry has taken?
It is something that came into his possession by chance. Something he does not understand. A shard of the Great One's power. The same power resides within me. But I mastered it. I absorbed it. I learned its ways. Once I have gathered all the shards, my master will be reborn.
You know, I just realized those are bones over Sindri's shoulder, not scrolls. This is making sense. And who exactly is your master?
The mortals have forgotten the name of the Great One. They will remember it. They will remember it and tremble. Hear the name of my master and yours, doomed ones. Sithard.
Huh? I thought he was gonna say Baphomet or Discari. Sith who? Well, that's a new one for me.
The tiefling scratches his cheek in puzzlement. Yeah, I can't say that one sounds familiar to me either. I have studied a fair number of demon lords at this point, and that's a new one. How long have you been following us?
Not you. The gnome. A long time. Too long.
And where are we? Where have you brought us?
In the abyss. In the kingdom of my master. Your master, too. The master of all worlds.
What exactly do you want from us?
From you, I want you to die. From the gnome, I want a stolen treasure. Something he acquired by chance. Great power. It is mine. Mine.
Ha! Maybe I didn't know how to wield this power, but I swear on my bandaged eye that I will soon learn!
The grimace of fear on Sindri's face turns into a triumphant smirk. His eye flashes like an icy star, and the mage on the hill flinches and falls silent.
Thanks for keeping him talking. While he was poking around in my head, I was poking around in his. Alright then, let's get ourselves back home before he gains the upper hand again.
Sindri raises his hand, and the cultist copies the movement like a puppet. A portal opens before you.
Whose side are you even on? What's going on here?
I'm on our side, of course. Who else's? As for what's going on, I heard the same as you. That scoundrel serves someone called Sithard. No doubt a hideous creature with a name like that. He carries within him a piece of this Sithard's power, and it seems I do too. I don't have a clue what's going on, but everything's relatively clear. Alright, enough chit-chat. This villain will come to at any moment and close the portal. Get going. Shoo! Don't you worry about me. I'll be sticking around here.
Sindri, we have no reason to stay here and engage this thing on its terms. Come back with us. It's safer.
No! Remember what happened with the Inquisitors? I understand now. It was my fault. Well, it wasn't exactly my fault, but that rotten scoundrel was after me, and others suffered for it. And the same thing happened in the tavern. That one in the mask won't leave me alone. He'll find me wherever I go, and he'll kill another lot of innocent bystanders in the process.
Sindri shakes his head with such vehemence, it seems it may fly off his skinny neck.
I'm trying to play the hero? You'll die here for nothing. Can't you come up with a smarter idea? If I were you, I'd go back, round up some of my pals, and set a trap for this creep. Actually, you know what? I don't give a damn. Do what you want. If you were a little bit smarter, you'd stick with us. But if you're just looking to grandstand, have at it. Get frostbite on your ass and die here if it'll make you happy. Come on, let's go home. There's no reason for us to stay here.
Record scratches his cheek and spits on the ground.
That's what I've been telling you. Go! But I'm not running anymore. I'm going to finish this right now. I've made up my mind, and you won't talk me out of it. I swear on my gold earring.
Sentry brings his fist down into his open palm with a decisive smack. Well, I do appreciate his desire to avoid more collateral damage. That is certainly laudable. Though, as with most of his plans, he hasn't really thought this through. Then again, what are we going to do? Not stick around for the second half of the DLC? We're not leaving you, Sentry. Whatever's waiting for you here, we'll face it together.
Have you lost your mind? We're in the middle of nowhere, in a blizzard, without hats, gloves, or even a fur coat between us.
That's fine. I've always been partial to Coldstone.
And now with no way home. You'll live to regret this, mark my words, you will. But, even so, thank you. You are true friends. Your words have warmed my heart. Well, since we're all stuck here now, onward. Let's take down that masked madman.
The cultist on the hill raises his arms and lets out a long, rasping noise. The portal is closed. And a Chivo. So, do we get one more fight for the road, or are they leaving us off on a cliffhanger here? And cliffhanger it is. Far from the world of mortals, the portal between the planes slammed shut, cutting off the small party's way back home. They had come so far through the ravaged Canabris, they had evaded so many deadly perils. Surely they had not survived all that, only to die without a trace in the freezing cold, far from the mortal world? Of course not! But the fate of those brave souls long remained a mystery. To be continued. And we're done. Not even an export save. Though maybe it made one automatically. I'll double check on that later. But, yeah, not bad. Overall, I more or less enjoyed that expansion. Obviously, there were some issues with pacing, some of the puzzles could have used some tweaking. Combat might have been a little overtuned, but honestly, it started feeling a lot easier once we got past that initial artificial curve, the one imposed by the artificial limitations placed on XP and loot gain. I was a little surprised there weren't any more serious consequences for that series of flubbed skill checks we had during that final event. But, maybe that's because we kept everyone in good health. Maybe if we had people who were injured, or if we hadn't finished their personal quests or something, then each of those failed skill checks would have cost us one of our potential survivors. Though I'm loath to go back and try to experiment with that to see if it's the case. I like saving people when possible. Still kind of bummed about the Bamir thing, but what are you going to do? I might go back and try to save him just for the sake of the Achievo, but canonically, there's no way Grimm would have kept him around after he found out who he really was. As for the main storyline, a little bare bones. I mean, obviously we were mostly just reacting to things throughout this entire first expansion, but now I'm a bit intrigued. The whole thing with the magic bones, Sindri's sorceress powers, and the mysterious Sithud, who I'm going to have to look up now. I'm curious if it has anything to do with the main campaign, or if it's just its own completely separate, standalone thing. Though again, we'll find out soon enough. We've got a new expansion coming down the pipeline, one that'll theoretically continue this adventure and push us up to level 10. Not sure exactly when that's coming out. I think they've currently got it slated for summer, quote-unquote. Maybe Q3? I'd have to double-check. That said, we'll hit the pause button for now. We'll return to the main series for a while. But Grimm and his friends will return. With Through the Ashes 2, or whatever they end up calling it. I'll see you then. Oh, and special thanks to the Raiders, the fine folks who help make these videos possible, including but not limited to Dragon Matrix 7, Mathew Smith, Revenant, Alois, Drakiith, Egg, Eerie V23, EgonAlter, Emile, Exsellsior, Gottlieb, James Trimmier, Kazorm, Nathan Welch Jr., OverlordPherom, RandomPassrby, RobbyB, Tomasz Piątkowski, Triphoppenskip, and Valinrook. Thanks for your support, guys. And if you'd like to help support the channel as well, feel free to push the buttons that do the things. Trust me, it does make a difference. Or maybe even check out the Patreon, the YouTube memberships, or the Nexus GG page. As always, links are in the description.
Whose side are you even on? What's going on here?